Hello, my name is Jack Stanley, and I'm the co-founder of the Tech Academy. I'd like to welcome you to the Tech Academy podcast. The Tech Academy operates a 15-week software developer bootcamp. You can find out more at our website, learncodinganywhere.com.
Hey guys, it's Hannah Patterson. Today I'm sitting down with Tim Shedor, and we're going to talk to him about Ask a Dev, as well as how his background in journalism has helped him in the tech industry. Let's get started. Well, hi, Tim.
Hello.
Thanks for joining us today. Just to start off, how did you get into technology? How did that happen for you?
I was the newspaper editor of my high school paper, and we had like a pretty good run for a while, and the website was sort of hit and miss, and I saw like an opening, and I just kind of jumped into it. And we started doing like broadcasting and different kind of stuff on WordPress, and that rolled into other people around the school being like, oh, you can do a website. I need a website for this. And then before I knew it, I had like a list of freelance, and it just kept snowballing from there. So
would you say you're pretty much completely self-taught?
Yeah, entirely.
Okay, awesome. And we saw that you have, stalking your LinkedIn, saw that you have a degree in journalism. So how do those two things pair together for you, working in technology and journalism?
So the journalism thing was something that I knew I was good at, and the technology thing wasn't. So I went into school knowing that I could succeed in journalism. But along the way, like it was in high school, people at the newspaper in college heard about me through the journalism school, and they were like, oh, we need this for the website, and we have this idea, or we have this grant project, and like, could you come on board with us? And so it will sound a bit vain, but it afforded me a bit of popularity because everybody needed something from me. So I could kind of weasel my way into all these different circles. And then I just got good at it.
That's awesome.
Got better and better.
Cool. So you're here today at the school to talk about askadev.org, right? So tell me a little bit about that.
So Ask a Dev offers free mentoring from local programmers, and we really target people who don't know anything about code or about websites. So people who maybe just need a website, maybe just need a Squarespace domain set up, just need like this or that. Somebody who doesn't necessarily need to pay a freelancer, $100 an hour. But it turns out there's a lot of people like beginners that just want to know how to code and don't have anybody that they have in their circle to say like, this is where you should go to, this is what you need to do, or use Treehouse or use these different resources. And so we've turned into kind of a mentorship group that helps starting programmers.
That's really cool. Is all of that communication done online, or are there like meetups and other ways for people to get connected through Ask a Dev?
So the whole point is to keep it offline. And when we launched on Hacker News, there was a lot of pushback against like, well, there's already Freenode, there's Slack groups, there's IRC, there's all these different venues that you can go, but there's like a bit of humanity. I think that we miss out a lot in programming. There's people that still go to coffee shops and to, co-working spaces. It's this idea of like the remote worker that has to work with other people, just not necessarily at their company. We have to be around people. So the whole idea of Ask a Dev is that it's entirely offline.
Awesome.
So we meet up weekly. Other cities meet up once a month. Some cities meet up every other week. But Portland does every Thursday.
And did it get started here in Portland?
Yeah. So I put up the link on Hacker News, and within the day, we had 50 other cities that were like, yeah, let's do it.
Wow.
And so now I think we're up to 12 cities, 20 events, and 5 countries.
Wow. That's amazing. That's really cool.
From 1 month ago.
It started a month ago. Ask a Dev started a month ago. Wow. That's a lot of traction in a short period of time.
Tell me about it.
Congratulations. That's amazing. So on that same, the communication that you talked about, what are some errors that you see young developers or new developers making in communication with other tech professionals?
As far as like when they enter a conversation, they're like, and they're not phrasing things properly, like they're not getting the verbiage, or do you mean
any cause of communication breakdown?
I think especially with new developers, there's too many resources for them to go to, and they can't find the one answer. Like when I started, CSS Tricks was like, that was the go-to. Like everybody knew CSS Tricks. Khan Academy was kind of getting off the ground. There wasn't really any Treehouse. And so like I learned entirely off of Chris Coyer and Stack Overflow. and the WordPress codex. Like everything was through those channels. But now there's so many different places. There's so many different like tech academies. You have all these Wes Boss videos. You have all this other stuff to learn. And so I think the hardest part for a beginning programmer is seeing all this information and kind of getting that imposter syndrome a little bit too early because it looks like everybody else knows what to do, and they don't. And so I think the communication breakdown happens when they're doing fine, but they expect to do just too much at once.
Okay. So trying to dive in and get in over their head kind of thing.
Right. I mean, they're doing brushstrokes when they should just be doggy paddling. You know?
Okay.
That kind of thing.
Yeah, that makes sense. What about communicating with non-technical people? So you touched on vernacular or using, terminology and that element of communication. Do you think that there's a communication error or an issue as a writer too, as a journalist, communication from developers to non-technical people and more effective ways they can communicate with each other?
Sure. So like there's that super uber popular Facebook page that everyone kind of loves and hates, Humans of New York, right?
Yeah.
And the guy has these answers to these questions in the captions, right? And they're these incredibly insightful, like really personable answers, and you have no idea how he got there. And so what I love about that page is that it's not so much the question, the answer that I'm into, it's the question. And so I think a lot of times we don't, like he talks to these people, he talks to his subjects on a very, on the same plane. He doesn't like elevate himself. He does something where he makes them comfortable. There's like this common ground of just being a person to a person.
Yeah.
And I think the best journalists interview like that, where they're going to come into, they're going to be embedded with a story for a couple of days. They're going to see a person consistently. It's how photographers work a lot of times, where they want to make sure, like wedding photographers, they just want you to be comfortable and to forget that they're there.
Right.
And so I think that if your question was what happens with the verbiage, right?
Yeah.
So from a technical to a non-technical standpoint, we have a tendency to just use really big words, and they're not wrong. You can talk about function invocations, and you can talk about object-oriented programming, and you can use these like $10 words. But in the end, it doesn't matter. You're only speaking for yourself. You're not speaking to the audience, right?
Yeah.
So we just need to do a better job of ascertaining who we're talking to, and then speak in that language, and not speak in the one that we're most familiar with.
Good. Yeah, that totally makes sense to me. We also saw when we were looking at your LinkedIn that you are the co-founder and CTO of Wedfuly. You just mentioned wedding photographers, so that was kind of a smooth segue. What inspired that in the first place? How did you decide to do that?
So one of my best friends from high school, his sister reached out to me this summer. We were both she just graduated. I was in between a job, and she was like, there's a need for this in the wedding industry. Do you want to be a co-founder? And any other summer I probably would have said no, just because like I haven't had like too many long-term relationships. I'm not really that good with that stuff. I don't have like this dream ideal wedding. But my sister was getting married that summer, and it was causing a huge rift between her and my mom. And it was having a support planner would have made that process a lot easier. I mean, of course, everything's mended now, water under the bridge. But like,
right.
In the heat of the moment, when everyone's trying to run around for this wedding, it would have just been helpful to have an expert to be like, do this, do that. And so that's what Wedfuly tries to do, is make this an affordable option.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's a massive industry for sure. So that was about 10 months ago is when this got started, right?
You really did your homework.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was in June. So yeah, about 10 months.
Okay. And in that time frame, as a co-founder, like what obstacles have you come up against that you didn't foresee in getting this started, or what lessons have you learned just in that time span?
So I learned a lot about the wedding industry. First of all, I learned a lot what I was diving into, because I had an idea with my sister, but there's a whole bunch of there's cottage industries of vendors and of photographers, and there's like all these different sects of like, I'm a specialty in cupcakes, or I'm a specialty with ice cream, and it's like you can have multiple say caterers, and they all do this one thing. So there's a whole bunch of different small facets that are under this umbrella of the wedding industry. But as far as like a business dynamic goes, I learned a lot about law, about like setting up an LLC, about registering as like foreign entities, handling payment, doing taxes, keeping track of like expenses. And that was stuff that I would have never encountered before. And then the other half of it is I've always done client work. So it's always been someone's said like, this is the website, a designer mocks it up, I put it together. But now this is interacting with actual people who are using the site and working with our planners who are interacting with the app that I've built and the people that are using it. And integrating feedback like that is a much more different process because you have this like workflow where it's a constantly improved product as opposed to just a brochure site that you put up and it's done.
Yeah, cool. All right, and just as a last note, you're about to do a tech talk with us. So what is that tech talk focused around? You don't have to do the whole talk now, obviously, but what are you going to be going over with our students?
The talk is going to be on programming in a way that when somebody else can read the code, they know what's going on. It's like a lot of times we program into a computer, but we don't program with the idea that somebody else is going to read it.
Yeah.
And so the talk, I guess, is around programming and writing code that's legible, like not just writing code where it works and it's concise and it makes sense, but writing code where you can look back at it and read it and be like, and read it like literally line by line, and it sounds like if this value is present, then do this, and not something where it's like if this dot val kind of thing, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Would you say that your background in writing and journalism has made that easier for you, or made that something that you prioritize more, having it communicate smoothly?
Sure. Yeah. No, absolutely. Because of course with a journalism degree, it's all about talking to somebody else. It's all about like interviewing, and then it's about producing a story that's in decently bite-sized pieces. I mean, when you have like a journalism graph, it's 1 or 2 sentences, and everything has to be digested before the nut graph. Like you get the five W's, you get the inverted pyramid kind of thing going. Like you want to get your information out there quickly and concisely, and then you can divulge. And I think a code base works similarly, where you can put all the core functions like in, say, your initializers or in like the view did load, and then you can have your other stuff down lower that handles the finer functions where it's like maybe you're adding a border to a button or something like that. Mm-hmm. But things that aren't as important. Yeah. Lower down. This is kind of a rambling answer. I apologize.
No, that's okay.
Kind of going all over the place.
Awesome. Okay.
Is that did that cover everything?
Yeah. Is there anything else that you want to share that you want me to ask you about? She can cut this section out too if she wants to.
No, just Ask a Dev meets every Thursday, and we alternate weeks. So on Thursday mornings we'll meet at a coffee shop in Southeast, and on Thursday evenings we'll meet typically downtown. But our website askadev.org is the best place to find the latest meetup.
And those meetups are open to anyone, to people that it's just to come ask developers. Like that's really the function. They don't have to have any experience whatsoever.
Right, and they're completely free. And I want to make it a point that there is no way that we're going to make this at any point you have to charge for it. So like if you wanted to do extracurriculars with the mentors, we allow them to do that. But it's very much that there is no you don't have to pay for a ticket, you don't have to pay for a talk. There's no, it's a very, very low barrier to entry. And as long as we're there in that time span, we're free.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And we're looking forward to your tech talk as well.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Jack Stanley again, co-founder of the Tech Academy. If you are interested in enrolling in our software developer bootcamp, please visit our website, learncodinganywhere.com.